Alright, hello everybody. You have all been asking me to make a video on my strategy. So, first thing I kind of wanted to go over is what the strategy is. So, I'll just kind of give it in step by steps what I actually do. So, I pretty much have a momentum's trading plus liquidity style strategy, meaning I look for big, fast, strong candles pointed in the direction of where I believe people's stops are. So, pretty much, if we have something like this, if this is our chart, and this is where we open right here, I'm looking at a few things on this chart. Where do I think people place their stop loss orders? So, typically, stops are under lows and over highs. So, in this case, here are all of our lows. Now, this low here, or yeah, this low here is weaker than this low right up here because this one stayed at this spot for longer and it bottomed twice. These are typically my favorite. Um, the more it bottomed somewhere, the better. And again, this completely works vice versa too. If this was our chart, I'd be doing the same thing here. These would be our spots. So what I'm looking for is pretty much a candle from open. Actually, if we go ahead and just do this really quickly here. Yeah, if this is open, so we have stops here and here too, above and below us. So we're opening right here. What I'm looking for is a strong red candle that either takes us to this area, or a strong green candle that takes us to this area or this area. So for this example, let's say we had a strong red candle. So let's say that this was our red candle, right? It closed under all of this liquidity, and it closed with pretty much no wick at all. So what I'm doing is I think this is a very strong red candle, pretty much. So I'm shorting at the close of the candle. And then this is right as market opens. This is the first minute closing of New York session. So 9:30 a.m. is when this candle's closing. I'm entering on the 9:31 open candle. So I'm taking this, and my target is pretty much 11 points away. So do with that what you will, depending on what your profit target is. So for this, I'd probably take around 20 contracts, 20 micro contracts, or two minis. I would short here, and I would target here. And that would essentially be my trade. So if it came down here, that's a little bit easier to use. Came down here, closed under this, but then had a wick kind of like this. It hit my target, but now it looks somewhat strong. So I would even go ahead and buy back and sell at these liquidity areas up here because the market moves where it could stop the most people out the fastest. So if it's heading in a direction where there's liquidity, it's going to take that liquidity. And once it takes that liquidity, it has two options. It could either go to the next one, which it will if it's still strong, or it will reverse there and go take the ones up above. So in this case, for our example, let's say that it took all of these, closed strong, and then the next candle was here, next candle was here that took all of these out. So that's essentially what I'm looking for. So let's get into some charts here. Let us toss that up there. Let's do just a random day, somewhat recent here. So, because my strategy relies on the closes of candles, I don't really care too much about seeing or not seeing the data because I'm going to do the same thing regardless. So, first thing I do is this is right at open. So, I'm going to mark out levels above and below. So, above we have this triple top here, or actually it may even be more if you count some of these over here. And then we have a little bit up here. This is very nice liquidity for me. I like that a lot. Next, we have a little bit down here, a good bit there, and then some even down here. So these are the levels that I'm essentially going to be trading off of. Up here, because I just know everybody who entered short right here put their stops right above here, because that would make sense. So the big firms are going to target those areas if they need to take those people out of their trades and take their shares, essentially. Or right down here, if somebody was betting that the price was going to go up, you're going to put it under the last big low and say that somebody got in here, right, in this area, they're going to put their stops here. And I'm only putting my levels where price hasn't hit so far. So like this one right here would be another good level. But if you look at it, price already came back and invalidated it. So I'm not looking at that anymore. So our first candle here was, of course, pretty much a doji. It wasn't strong to the upside or strong to the downside. So in this case, I'm going to wait till the next candle, which, perfect enough, very, very rarely happens. So of course it happened on the first example I'm going to show. So I'm shorting right there at the close of this candle. My first target is going to be right there. And there really isn't much after. If you wanted to look back a little bit further, there's a good amount of liquidity here and right here. So if you wanted, you could go ahead and zoom out a little bit. I like to use whatever is closest. I think that works the best. But we are shorting here, and we pretty much have 4 targets, 2 of which are relatively easy to hit. So I'm always going to go for the low-hanging fruit, which is what I suggest everybody do. So I, again, am shorting here. I am targeting probably one of these 2. So we'll say I'm targeting this one right here. That is 18 points away. So let's say that I wanted to make $675, which is what I typically try and make per account per day. So I have 18 points. I need to make $675. So, actually, I'm going to do this a different way because I have a calculator over in another spreadsheet. All right, so I haven't used this spreadsheet in ages, so we are going to just say that I need, say, 15 contracts. I haven't used this spreadsheet in 3 years, so I kind of forget how it works. Let's say I need 15 contracts, right? So I will sell here, and if I target, this is one of my levels, I'll take some of my position off. So say I take 5 out of my 15 contracts off. Then here, I will also take another 5 of my contracts off, and depending on if that made me the amount of money that I was aiming for or not, I will let the others run. But in this case, it did make me the amount of money, so I would just let it run. Sorry about that. I'm not 100% sure where I left off. I did have to go do something, but essentially what I would be doing is shorting here, taking off contracts here, here, and potentially here. As you can see, though, price did come down almost exactly to this point where it would have, if we scroll over a bit, where a lot of people would have placed their stops right at these lows right here. Now, there is this wick here, which very well could have more stops, but in my experience, always go with the spot that has the most touches, essentially. So you see here, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are a ton of them, essentially. So you want to go with the most touches, not necessarily the lowest point, but the most touches. So let's go ahead and do a few more days here. This one, I won't even peek, so that I don't know what happens. Let me just get this pulled up here. Alrighty. So we have a bunch of liquidity here, taps here, 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 all the way down here. We'll keep it going just to show. But yeah, these are essentially, they're not exact, obviously. They're areas that I'd like to be in. If this is my area here, right here, and price comes down here, I'm going to sell probably here, a little bit before that area, just because I have no desire to be the last one out. I'd rather leave one stop early than one stop too late. So, let's see here. There isn't a anything essentially to the upside. So odds are, if we start going up, we're just going to continue upwards. But if we do happen to go down, these would be our targets, and I could even add one here and here if I wanted. So let's see our first candle. Is this our 830? No, this is our opening candle. So right here, this is a very strong candle. I don't see any targets. So that does make it hard if you don't see targets, but a lot of the times those are ones that could just completely fly up or free fall. So depending on which direction it's going. So I would be willing to bet, unless we didn't get some sort of weird weak candle that was going on, that this just starts flying higher because there's nothing to stop it. Oh, and looks like that's exactly what happened. And then pretty much after this, I would have entered here, and I would have had no place to sell on that entire streak down. So let's do it with another more recent example, whatever this next day is. All right, and I looked. Trying not to look for all of you, because then some people say, well, you knew it was going to happen. But let's see here. Okay, so I see the first candle. Doesn't really make a difference to me. I wait for that to close anyway. So there isn't much at all underneath, essentially. So we have this area here, maybe, but that's from far away, so it doesn't even hold much weight for me. Next area I say is here, above these. Here, I'm just going to mark this as 1. It could be 2 right here, a couple right here, a few in here. It's all close enough for me. Then I'm going to mark here, up here, up here, here, and all the way up here, just because I believe that these are areas people get at their stops. So our first candle, we closed here. I'm going to be buying here, targeting the next areas. So our next areas are here, which are about 10 points away. So what I'm going to do is I would buy those. I'd buy and I would take some contracts off here, but because there are such strong levels up here too, I would keep hanging on until a candle told me to sell, which is essentially just a weak candle. So I wish I could do candle by candle, but buying here, trimming off, say I bought 15 contracts again, right? I'd probably trim off like 7 or 8 in this area, get half my position, target the rest higher, and that's exactly what happened. We would have been good to go on this trade. So let's do a couple more here. Let's see what happens on this one here. Alrighty. So this is a clear level here. This is a clear level here. Double top, triple top pretty much. Over here we have a double bottom, double bottom. Over here is decent. We have this and then these. And then I'll just mark out this little area. We could also mark this, and I'll mark there too. So again, if we have a strong candle, we actually don't have much above, so I'd like to go find a little bit more. So we'll go take these two here. Again, they're not as strong because they're from further away, so they're not my first priorities. This one and this one would be my top 2 priorities if we open it within this range. So let's go look. Alrighty. Our first candle was a very strong red candle. So I would be shorting at the red candle, and my first target is all the way down here. So I'll be taking relatively small size because that is fairly far away, and if I'm hanging on for a big point move, I don't need many contracts. So let's see what happens. But also, if there's a strong green candle, I will reverse, and I will try and take out the highs. Alrighty, looks like we didn't need that. So would have shorted here, taken off most, if not all, my position here. Then definitely all of my position down here, because that was just a huge move. And wow, we just kept going. So I will never aim to take those entire moves. I just don't need to. I am totally content making my $500 to $1,000 a day and calling it a day. I'd rather win more often than lose, even if it means my winning days are bigger. So I already skipped this here, and we're running out of days. So there is some here, liquidity down here. There is a bunch in this area. A little bit right here, but it's fairly close, so I wouldn't really mind. This is the minute before open, so we have liquidity here, 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 and right up here. So we're going to look for the first candle. So now this is a good example. We have a fairly strong candle. We opened here, we came down here, about 12 points. Same thing here. We have about 8 points at the top. So there's wicks in the top and bottom, plus a big body. So this is a fairly strong candle. But the issue you'll see is it pretty much took out all of the liquidity already, and it stalled at 400, which is a whole psychological number. So on these, I'll actually inverse it. So although this looks strong, it gave me a few signs of it wanting to be shorted. First, it came up here, but it couldn't hold above this liquidity area. Second, it couldn't break 400. So I'd be taking a small short here, looking for down here, because that's obviously a pretty big move, 45 points. I'd be looking for down there, and then if there isn't a strong candle, I'd wait till here. But remember, which is more important? The amount of taps. This got tapped twice. This got tapped like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then right here is pretty close to. So that was a bunch more taps. So this is, in my opinion, 4 to 5 times stronger because it has 4 to 5 times more taps. So then we'll keep trading this. Let's go find an example where we would have to reverse the position. So I believe today was a good example. Today for me. So this is what we had. Let's see, we're going to mark out our levels here. Makes it easier so I could actually see them. This area right here is extremely strong because of all the taps we had. And it looks like everything else got taken other than here, here. We have a double top here, and then a little bit here. So that looks like everything that we have so far. So we're going to wait for our first candle. So our first candle is very weak. We're going to short it. Now, as you can see, the next few candles didn't immediately go down like they typically do. And that's because we don't really have any liquidity that's easy to get on the downside. The next liquidity we have is pretty much all the way down here. That's from the previous day. So I don't care too much about that anymore. So in my eyes, we took out all of the liquidity. So now, yes, we could free fall, but I'm thinking there's a possibility that we could also reverse and go take out these. So this candle, not strong. I wouldn't long on it. Same with this one. This one's somewhat strong, but still not telling me exactly what to do. This one's weak, so I probably would have doubled down on my short just in case we did keep falling. But this candle's weak. This one doesn't really know. So right now, I'd be in a fairly decent-sized short. Then we have this candle here, which this is a very strong candle. So I'd be reversing my position. Unfortunately, I would be taking a loss of about 35 points. But what I do when I take a loss originally is typically I don't lose twice. As you can see, the win rate of this strategy is pretty high. I would show statistics, but I have no idea how to do that on this screen recording. But I'll say my last green streak was, I think, 34 days where I made like $60,000. So take that as you will. Worked pretty nicely for me. So we have this right here, we'd be reversing. So we're down, I believe I said, about 35 points. So I double my position. So I really need about 17.5 points now to be break even, and like 20 to 25 points to actually hit my profit goal for the day. So we long here, take a little off here, a little off here. Now essentially right up here, I'm break even. So anything more than this, if I get more points, I'm good to go. So right at about here is where I hit my profit target on the day. Which then, as you can see here, we hit the majority of the liquidity. There's still a little bit more up here, but again, it's further away. It has less taps, so it's not as strong. We had a very strong weak candle here, so we could have shorted this candle back down to other liquidity. So there's liquidity that was built here and here. So we could short this, taking it all the way back down to these areas. And we will do one other example, just of a random day a while ago, whatever this day has in store for us, and then I will call it there with the video. Alrighty, so this looks like a decent day. This was probably a move caused by news at 8:30. So, with news, there are actually fairly easy ways to trade these. The tops and the bottoms of news essentially act as magnets. So, I'm still going to mark out our typical levels. I like here, it did get taken, but I'm still going to put it because it's just a good level. We're going to look at our first candle. Alrighty, pretty much a doji. Second candle, pretty much a doji. Third candle, fairly weak candle. We're going to short on the third candle. Our first target being here, our second target here, so about 20 points. And that got all swept in the first candle. Now, if you can see here, it swept this and made a somewhat strong candle. Now, I haven't seen the rest of the chart, but if I was still trading this, I would start taking longs. So, buy here. Oh, and it looks like I was wrong. Good thing I like to be right on the first position. But at the same time here, once you see this candle, it tried to break higher and it couldn't. It could be another sign to short. So you have to keep looking, obviously, at what the market is giving you. Yeah, and then we did end up rallying back up here. I bet at some point we did hit this. Yep. So yeah, that's essentially my strategy in a nutshell. If you have any questions, go ahead and DM me on Discord, or if you have my number, go ahead and call me. Thank you.